All right, guys, back here on Southeastern 14 with Max Barr. We are sharing our thoughts on Texas A&M versus Tennessee on Saturday in SEC basketball action. If you want to check out our previews for all the other games, there's a couple other games, separate videos: Florida, Auburn, Kentucky, Gonzaga. Then we've got picks for all the others in one video. So find those here on the channel. But before we get there, let's talk about Bet Online. Playoff time, the big game coming up this weekend. The usual suspects heading to Vegas for the championship. Our partner, Bet Online, your number one source for football odds, stats, trends, and lines. Everything from point spreads to hundreds of bets on everything from the coin toss to the color of Gatorade. Bet Online, your number one source for championship wagering. Entering this game, head to Bet Online and join today. Get in on all the action. That's betonline.ag. Bet Online, the game starts here. All right, Max. Tennessee at Texas A&M. Both these teams coming off of midweek victories. Tennessee took it to LSU in Knoxville, but as you said, Rick Barnes not exactly thrilled with the overall performance, especially on the glass. Which, oh, by the way, Texas A&M not too shabby when it comes to rebounding. The Aggies showed us exactly why, and doing the same to Missouri. Although that was a just a bad matchup, as we said, for the Tigers, given all the strengths of this A&M team. And so this makes for an interesting setup because we've seen Texas A&M in these big home games thus far this season. They beat Florida just by the edge, and of course they beat Kentucky in that wild overtime game, several weeks ago. But they've also lost by 15 at home to LSU. They lost that game at home to Ole Miss, who had struggled on the road. So been a little hit or miss for this Texas A&M team at home. Meanwhile, Tennessee, as we know, the Vols have one of the best, most dynamic scorers out there in Dalton Connect, and they're going to bring this defense to the table that we've seen, kind of continue to do things that make it hard on the opponent. So, kind of fascinating matchup here, given where these two teams are at.
Very fascinating. And how about that matchup at point guard between Zakai Ziegler and Wade Taylor? Ooh, that is going to be good. I'm glad you brought up the rebounding, Blake, because, man, is that going to be a story in this game. Tennessee loves to impose their physicality on teams, and so does Texas A&M. Anderson Garcia going up against Adu and James and Awaka is going to be great. The rebounding battles. The one thing that I'm really seeing here, if we're looking at paths for Texas A&M, is free throws. Tennessee does not get to the line very often, and they put people on the line a lot. And that's the complete opposite for Texas A&M. They do not foul very often, and especially in conference play, they've gotten a little bit better at that. And you know what Wade Taylor and Tyree Stratford do with how they get downhill. That's all they do is get downhill. So I can see it already, being at Texas A&M. We've seen Adu and Awaka have foul trouble this year. And, maybe you get a home whistle there. And with how aggressive Texas A&M is, man, Tennessee could, get into a little bit of trouble if the front court, the depth begins to get tested on the road here. But when you're looking at, and another thing that I'm looking at with Texas A&M is that they don't turn the ball over. And being at home and with how Tennessee plays defense, I'm kind of interested. I'm not calling that a huge factor for Texas A&M. I'm just kind of interested to see whose numbers hold up in that matchup. Is Tennessee going to, get into them and force them to start their offense way out, or is Wade Taylor going to kind of be able to penetrate and kick out and cause some rotations and hit his floaters from the free throw line, do all this Wade Taylor stuff? I'm interested to see how that matchup breaks out. But Blake, the main thing that is just nagging at me in this matchup, just pulling at me, is how pissed off Rick Barnes was in that post-game press conference with his rebounding. This Tennessee team, you could easily look at this and just go, oh my gosh, LSU just crushed Tennessee on the boards, and now they're going to Texas A&M, who's one of the best rebounding teams in the country. Texas A&M is going to crush them on the boards. When I tell you this Tennessee team is going to get ripped to pieces in practice by Rick Barnes for the physical effort on the glass, they're going to come in here with their hair on fire trying to rebound. So, man, I think I kind of like Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try, but the fact is, like you said, they still got to figure out how to execute it against this A&M team that has just been so good in that area. And you were talking about kind of the theme we always bring up with Tennessee and how they pressure you out on the perimeter, and
Yep.
they just don't make it fun to start your offense. If I'm an A&M fan, I'd be thrilled about that. I'm like, pressure us as much as you want to make sure we don't shoot the three. Like, don't even let our guys think about shooting threes. So I think A&M, that could be a good thing actually for Tennessee, getting way out there and pressuring them a little bit, because again, this is an A&M team, as we've said, that just does not shoot the three well. They're 357th nationally in three-point shooting. The one thing I will say I think A&M's been doing a better job of, and maybe that has a part in them being a little more successful, the three-point attempts are going down.
Yes.
And they only shot 15 against Florida. They only shot 17 against Missouri. Before that, sure, they're winning some games, but like they put up 33 against LSU on the road. They made 10 of them, but I don't think Texas A&M should be shooting 33s in a game the rest of the season. They probably shouldn't be shooting 25 plus. So that's just something that I would look at, because like you said, you look at just a matchup itself. If A&M is going to get to the free throw line, you're not going to get there by shooting threes. You're not going to get there by settling for jump shots. You're going to get there by attacking this Tennessee team, we also tied this in, right? We were having our fun with, especially that Alabama-Auburn game in the midweek, but how this game's officiated will make a huge difference, because if this is one where, every little bump's a foul, Tennessee's very physical. And so if Tennessee gets in foul trouble, A&M just goes in attack mode, then I think it sets up really nicely for the Aggies here in this game, because to me, this is going to be a contrast from what you saw like in the Texas A&M Kentucky game. I think this winds up being lower scoring, because I think that's where A&M has to have it, right? Like they're not going to play a get up and down the floor type game. Look at some of the games that A&M's won this year. The Florida game specifically, right? 67-66. Like that's the kind of game this has to be, I think, because I just don't trust that A&M's going to get the offensive numbers they need against this Tennessee defense. But at the same time, it's like you said, what if A&M just kind of owns the glass here? What if Tennessee struggles offensively, which they have been prone to do at times, outside of Dalton Connect? And Buzz is really good. I mean, Buzz is one of the better game planning coaches, I think, in the SEC. They're not always able to pull it off, maybe because, they're 14-8. They've lost 8 games, but he does a good job, I think, matchup-wise, making sure they get the right matchups and all that. This is where, like, if you're also an A&M fan, hey, can we get Dexter Dennis back just for one game? Like, can we bring him back just for this one? Put him on Dalton Connect and see what happens. But that's another fascinating part of this, like seeing how they go about defending this Tennessee team.
Here's an interesting little nugget, and I think it might come into play here. So, how many games has Tennessee lost in SEC play? 2, right?
Yeah.
Lost to South Carolina, lost to Mississippi State. 2 of the slower teams,
2
right?
teams very similar to A&M, yeah.
Very similar to A&M. All right. Now, Jonas Adu has committed over 3 fouls 2 times in SEC play. South Carolina, Mississippi State. When he doesn't get into foul trouble, they win. When he gets into foul trouble, they lose. 20 minutes against Mississippi State, 21 minutes against South Carolina, both conference lows for Adu. If Adu is to get into any sort of foul trouble in a game where that's certainly going to be a factor, now the wheels start turning for A&M. I'm like, oh boy, I see why this spread is only going to be about 4 or 5. I can see it, definitely. So it's not going to be as clear cut as some of the numbers might suggest it could be. So that's definitely going to play it. That's definitely going to play a factor. And now I'm kind of second guessing how much I like Tennessee.
I know. I wish Chris was on this one, because I'm like, I need Chris to like give me his pick first, because I need to know exactly what he thinks of this and where we need to go. But I think he did say he was picking Tennessee, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
He did give us his pick, and he did say he was going to pick Tennessee in this one. I am a little more torn, because, man, I can see this game going a variety of different ways, and because I do think it's going to be played at A&M's pace. That was a great point you brought up about the teams that Tennessee has lost to, has been teams that have tried to do things in a very similar way that A&M does, and
They don't like this style.
they don't. And yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, we saw, and we also talk about like here, like what's at stake too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the SEC regular season standings now, you have 4 teams with 2 losses. As to what a setup this is. Auburn's at 8-2, Alabama's 8-2, South Carolina's 8-2, Tennessee's 7-2. So essentially, right now, you got a 4-team race for the SEC regular season title, which is very fun to think about. 10 games in, Tennessee's played one fewer game. because they've already had the midweek off. So, but then you look at A&M; they're 5-4. They are, as we've talked about before, the computers like them in terms of their NCAA tournament positioning, but you may not like them as much as you think, right? It's they still need some things to prove, and so primetime game. This is on ESPN, right? So I think it is. Primetime game. That's just an interesting setup to me. But then I'm like, well, A&M could easily come out and just, go 0 for 20 here from 3 and miss all their free throws. And, Tennessee just claws their way to a victory. Man, this is tough, Max. That's why I like going last. So I'm going to let you go first, then I'm going to go last. How about that?
I'll tell you what, I think I've got my pick, and it's in confidence, but I am very worried about the front court foul trouble that may start to hinder Tennessee. But this is a Texas A&M offense that I'm just not sure if they're going to be able to keep up with Tennessee for a full 40 minutes if they shoot like they've been shooting. Now, if Hayden Hefner and Solo Washington and these guys come out and start adding in a 3 or 2, wipe this whole analysis off the table. But I think that the Tennessee offense is just going to be a little bit too much. This is a Texas A&M defense that gives up a lot of, like, a very high assist rate. They're not too efficient in that area, but I'm telling you right now, I have got all the gut feelings of a Texas A&M win here, and I'm going Tennessee.
Of course, because that's how it works, right? Because you feel like you got everything. I want to tell you this real quick. If you go back to last year, these two teams played in College Station also. Texas A&M won that game 68-63. Okay? So that's the kind of game they need to win here if they're going to make it happen. But here's the more important point. Tennessee last year, similar defensively, right? So Texas A&M got the free throw line 34 times in that game last year. And so they only took 15 threes. Like, if I'm A&M, if I'm Buzz, I'm bringing out last year's tape and saying, here's the formula. 15 three-pointers. We made 4 of them. Free throw line 34 times. Tennessee only got to the line 14 times in that game last year. Tennessee also turned it over 16 times. Different season, I know, but I'm just pointing out A&M still wants to do the same things. They still want to get to the free throw line. They still want to take advantage of those opportunities. But I just worry about A&M shooting here against this kind of defensive team. And I'm still not to the level where I feel like I can trust them in that regard. I'd feel a lot better about picking A&M if they had not lost that game against Ole Miss, if they had not lost the game against LSU, if they were undefeated at home, right? It's like, okay, you lean on the Kentucky win, all those wins. But the teams they've won against, how many of those teams, Max, have been great defensive teams? Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, Florida, Missouri again. And so it's just, the teams they have played that are great defensive teams, Auburn, really. I mean, because you're not going to throw Arkansas or Ole Miss necessarily in that category. But, they scored 55 points on Auburn. I know, home game, all that. I think this will be Texas A&M's pace, but I can't do it. I'm gonna pick Tennessee, but I'm like you. I'm like, I think we're gonna look back on this game and be like, we knew it, but we just didn't pick it. So, so anyways, we'll see what happens in this one. Should be a good game. We'll see who can kind of play the game the way they need to get the victory. But of course, a lot more on the channel here, previewing all these games on Saturday. If you're a Texas A&M fan too, we just did some football videos with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs, so you can check that out football-wise here on the channel, kind of looking at the offseason for the Aggies there under Mike Elko. So be sure to check that out. Check out everything here on the channel, Southeastern 14. Hit that subscribe button. And again, we appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll talk to you again here soon at Southeastern 14, presented by Bet